I'm hoping to start looking into ETAP next week. I had it on the list this week, but
Oh, yeah.
too many things to do. But next week I'll
Well,
finally look
give
into
it a
setting it
try.
up. But
Yeah. Um, I was looking at in this link that I just put in there, there should be a link to um, screenshots. Yeah, there it is of that ETAP has put out of their application, and um, it's very detailed. What they want to do is they want to be able to show Congress wants to know if the money is being well spent. Hi, Carl. Um, Um, so this is this is in order to be able to track. That's one of the things, which and to see is the where do people end up, who's applying, who's being accepted, and unfortunately, tracking is kind of a frightening concept in this time and these days. Like, and there are questions in there like what about gender identity, gender, not a, yeah, gender identity, and that have the potential to be even hazardous, you in the put in the wrong hands. The people have the option, the applicants, of choosing I choose like things like I choose not to answer this, or if it says optional in the field, they can choose not to answer it. And also, it's a pretty good idea, I think, to put on your website if you're using when you're using ETAP to say, that the acceptance will not be determined by any one particular question or something to that effect. Um, yeah, and there another concern, I can't remember offhand if these are required, but they ask for other contacts in your household as a way of again, like in the future, being able to find you if they can't track you down on LinkedIn or something like that. And, for lots of people, that's not going to be okay. If they have family who are undocumented or who knows, whatever it is, privacy purposes, safety, things like that. Um, so in a way, in a way, having your own system is kind of a good backup, or it seems like to me, in terms of those things. Hi, Andy.
actually,
Hi, Val. I have a question. Are you going to have one of these sessions, ETAP sessions, with someone who is from ETAP? It would be
Yeah.
at the meeting. We had some questions that were specific, to this whole issue of about prior research experience that for those of us running community college directed REUs seems like an intimidating and rather than
Oh,
having too many applications, it might generate too few
uh-huh. I see.
when students see that. And I'd like to talk to uh, one of those people and express that concern
Okay.
to see if, you had mentioned that these questions are coming from Congress. Well, I'm asking, are they really all coming from Congress or are some of these coming from ETAP
Well,
or
actually,
somebody that wrote these?
that one is really an REU question. It's not ETAP per se, but that's from the program managers who run REUs across NSF. Because they are interested in giving as many people opportunities as possible. So generally not repeating or having people do multiple REU programs. However, um, if there are applicants who have done an REU, I mean, I guess there are two points to this, but if they've done an REU before, and you're interested in them for the reasons that you're selecting people, then the idea is you contact your program officer at NSF and tell them about this student and why you want to, they've got a lot of potential and a lot of need and they're going to benefit a lot and things like that. And then I know Lisa Rome, I think she pretty much almost, usually says yes. Um, So there's that. And then prior experience in general. Um, yeah, I understand also what you mean about that being intimidating. And unfortunately, we are not able to remove questions at all from at this point in time from ETAP. The only thing we can do is put caveats on our own web pages, like, prior
Wait,
research.
so that edict is coming from ETAP, or where is that? This is set in stone and can't be changed. Where is that coming from?
That's coming from ETAP. It's coming from the people that we've talked to before include Cecilia Speroni, who's an NSF person who is the ETAP person, and I can put her email in here. And also Christina Tuttle, who works for a company called Mathematica, and they're the ones who, I guess, put it together. That was their project over the last umpteen years, 8 years or something. So we have asked before, like, a few times actually. Like we had a session about 3, 4 weeks ago on a Friday with Cecilia. She came and I think I have that recorded. So I should actually make a note of that. And that was asked of her again, and she said, "No, we can't remove questions for you." So,
Mm.
yeah. So I think the best thing there is to put on your webpage, like, prior research experience is not required at all, or
Yeah.
something clear, which hopefully people will see.
Okay.
Yeah, there's definitely, it's not nearly as flexible as would be ideal. And then another question people brought up was, if this is going to be giving us so many more applications, if a student can apply to, you know, 25 different programs, um, that just makes a lot of work for everybody. It helps in ways because formerly students did not apply to very many at all, if more than one, from some research that Michael Hubenthal did. So that's helpful, but from the perspective of people running these programs, it's a bit ridiculous.
So is there a way, a filtering process in ETAP that, okay, so my program, it's only open to community and 2-year AA students. Is there a way to prevent those students who are not eligible from applying, or are they going to be able to apply even though we say we have an eligibility statement about who's eligible? Are they still going to be able to submit
That's a
in
great
small part?
question. And I don't know, like, citizenship is another, or permanent residency is another that's required by NSF. Um,
Mhm.
for this though, I think that let me just think. So, um,
I can chip in on that. I think
okay.
even though you add this is Moin Wang from University of Washington. I'm the PI for the SECOS REU program here. So we have the requirement, we do not accept freshmen, but each year we see freshman applicants on the file. So all you can do is sort them out and put them into separate file as disqualified.
Oh,
That's
right.
unfortunately, yeah.
So yeah, I suppose a question that's right. And so a question that you could put, if it's not in the form, like, what year are you in, or which kind of college are you in? I don't remember seeing that.
No, we cannot. I don't see that, but we do have the requirement saying if we require you finish at least 1 year in the college. That means you have to be at least past a freshman, but there is incoming freshman apply.
So
I don't
did
know,
you add a question, or would you add a question in ETAP?
That's good idea. We add extra question, but not on this one. But this is a good idea. We probably can do that. Just say, "Are you a freshman?" Or we do ask them identify freshman, sophomore, junior, or senior. So if we saw the freshman check it out, so we just move them to separate piles.
Right. Or are you currently, I mean, maybe it's like what you have to be specific though. Like, if you're a freshman now, then you will be a sophomore, entering rising sophomore. And so, but I guess the other answer is no, I'm still in high school. And I think Andy, that adding a question is a good idea. Where if you could say, "Are you in a community college or what kind of program are you in?" Add it to the ETAP, and then when you download the 5,000 columns of Excel spreadsheet with the data, then you can sort that particular column and then remove or omit all the people who are not in the college category you're looking for. So they may apply,
Yeah,
but you know,
I get that. I'm just wondering, they're doing this to increase the utility and the number of people that are applying from the student's point of view. Could they help us out and do some programming that would eliminate people who are not eligible for individual programs based on criteria? I mean,
that's such a great
presumably
question.
they want to improve this thing, the usefulness of it. Well, can they improve the usefulness of it from our side as
Right.
project directors?
Yeah. So that's a really great question. And what we can do in the meantime, because I've been in touch with them to set up another time for them to join us. They weren't able to come on short notice. But we could email also, emailing is possibly the best way to get answers because just generally, because I hear from some people um, that well, I've heard from two people that it's taking weeks to get a response from the help desk. So if you write to these people directly, then they have been very good about responding to questions in the past. Like one question last year was from somebody whose program wasn't yet in the system. And so they actually did make a change there so that if you didn't have a program in the system yet, but you had been told you were awarded funds, that you could go ahead with it. Paulette, are you obligated to use ETAP with the COPE project?
No, they've not said anything to us about it. We've also chose to call our program an internship versus a research experience for undergrad. I don't know if that makes a difference.
Well,
Um,
what, yeah,
and we're
yeah, that's a great question. I think that in
because
general,
we're very specific on who we're looking for to apply,
right?
you know.
Yeah. I mean, my understanding sort of generally is that it's any NSF program that has like the GRFP is one, for instance, or postdoc NSF that they are to go through, or that's what they're aiming for. So it may be that they ask you in the future because it's NSF funded. Um, yeah. What's the other thing I was going to say? Um, Oh yeah, other thing is that you don't call it an REU if it's not an REU because they're very proprietary about it, even though it's become kind of a generic term, among people like, oh, it's an internship. But anyway, I think it's kind of silly, but go ahead.
Val, you mentioned early on that something about having your own application as well as using ETAP. Do you know examples of people doing that? When I asked Cecilia about that, she said they don't want people doing that. They think it would lead to chaos, although they can't enforce it, I guess. But do you know examples of people
Yeah.
who are using both
Oh, I
ETAP
think,
and
yeah. Off the top, I can't remember. I know some of the people that were at the conference were saying that and actually, I mean, I think Alan Berkowitz, for instance, is one, and we can put together some names of people who did do parallel. Actually, I'm not sure they did that. I know they used ETAP. Um, but yes, so you'd like
well,
names of people or be able to ask.
no, I'm just curious. I mean, just people are doing it.
Oh, yeah, they are.
I
And
don't,
and
yeah.
actually at the meeting when the NSF people were answering questions, I'm pretty sure Lisa Rome then, if not then, at another time said it's fine if you run a second one in parallel that is your own program. I think eventually, they'll probably want it to be just that, but sure that's what they want, but people have put a lot of effort into their own portals and they like how it works. And yeah.
I Yeah, I asked because our biggest obstacle, and I learned at the meeting, other people do this as well, is we don't have only the REU, we have other interns that we support by other means, and I'm
Oh, right.
struggling to figure out how do you.
Well,
And
that's a good
Cecilia said
justification.
we can put those on ETAP as well, but
Right. I think it's a good justification
I
for doing both.
doing both. Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't
Like,
realize people were doing that because I only had spoken with Cecilia and she really discouraged it, but
yeah.
it just doesn't seem
Well,
practical for some people to not have both.
right. Like
So,
yourself.
yeah.
If you have other sources of funding, then it doesn't, I think it makes sense that you should be able to do it differently.
Do you know, or
I
is
thought.
anybody on here? Are you making students apply to two things? The same student has to apply to ETAP and your own, or seems like
I
more
think
work,
it's an
but
either or. I don't think it has to be both. For people that are
yeah.
doing both, they are accepting applications from either or.
Oh,
And
I see. I
and the
see.
report last
I
year,
see.
as I recall, was that they got a lot more students from the ETAP. They were generally pretty happy with using it, and they got a decent, like they were happy with the, targeted student groups they were looking for. Um, but what we don't know is like how many people are being turned off by such a lengthy application process in ETAP and the questions that are in there. And these are potentially people that we're really looking for. So has anybody
Um,
been doing both?
yes, this is Maureen again. Uh, so actually, if you watch the recording of the ETAP information session, which I did the last night, they talk about things like your case, Michael, and they suggest you publish two opportunities separately. So student can choose which opportunity to select, but use the same application platform. And we actually have similar situations. So we have about, the coming year we probably will have 15 interns, but 10 of them will be supported by NSF, the other by other grants. But we will use this platform just easier for us to sorting and go the review process.
So are you saying that you are only using ETAP for the multiple programs?
Yes.
Oh,
We tried last year is our first year, and we did see the jump in the number of applications from 300 to 434. And but my feeling is actually it's a lot easier than what we had before because they already have the website designed for you. And so if you want to kind of filtering student just by adding some IC questions, by adding extra questions to make sure student just not applying one application form, then submit all to every single
yeah.
site.
Right, right. Like some people have mentioned having, it's a bit like Indeed.com where you put an ad on there and the vast majority of people don't have the requirements you're looking for. But that's interesting. The recommendation then was to use ETAP even though you're advertising different programs. I mean, to use it even on the programs that are not like NSF REU programs.
Yeah, I think that's what they said in that information session of the webinar recorded,
Oh,
which was last month something. Yeah, I just watched last night, so that's why it's still fresh in my memory.
yeah. Okay. That's great. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah,
Um,
Cecilia confirmed to me one-on-one, and when she was here, that you should be able to do that. Um, One of our obstacles is we usually have two or three projects that applicants choose from, and one of them might be an REU project, and the other two are funded by our other sources of money.
Hmm.
I feel like I'll have more questions next week when I finally go in and start trying to get ETAP to work. But
That's a
Cecilia
really, yeah,
said
that's
under
another good question.
most circumstances it should. She didn't know about the top three I was explaining to her, but yeah, she confirmed what you just said, Moyin, that it should not be a problem.
I wonder,
So
then does that mean you can add what I don't, I guess I understand about that, Moyen, is let's say you have programs A, B, and C, and only A
yeah.
is an RE, NSF funded RU program. Um, when the students are
So
clicking check boxes, how do you get your other programs on there? Or do you just take the
so
ones?
well, we had a slightly different approach because this year, 2024, we actually have a 25 project from mentors submitted. They wanted to host the RU student, but we only have 15 spots, and half of them supported by NIS, the other half supported by other grants. And so we just put all the 25 project online, ask a student to pick up their top fives. So in that way, it's easier for us to match the student with their mentors. And after we do the initial screening among the 400 applications, we give each mentor five, potential candidates and let them make the final decision. So in
Okay.
that way, we basically
Yeah.
use one portal to handle all the applications, even for different projects.
And so if you go to sort of like further back, stepping up or back from that, if you're talking about not projects, but programs, let's just say you have like really different programs.
They Yeah, so basically student doesn't know which program, they just know the projects. And we know which project funded by NSF, which project from the other source of the money.
So you added the projects into the ETAP?
Yes, we are not added to the ETAP. We make them, we have the link there so that you have to go there, check our website, then coming back, fill the numbers project. I mean,
Oh,
rank the numbers, the project you want to choose.
oh, that's cool. I
Yeah.
guess if in terms of having them select the program, then Mike, it would be probably good to have I suppose that you have to put the NSF name program. I was going to say a more generic program name, but
Actually, Muyin, what we do presently sounds very similar to what you just described. About
Okay.
25 to 30 applications, 10 of them are RU, and then they rank the top five. We help the mentors find those five, and then yeah, I might,
Mhm.
once I figure out how to, how to try to do this, I might contact you one on one because it sounds
Sure.
like we're very similar to what you now know how to do.
yeah.
We
Sounds
tried
similar
last
to what
year. Okay.
That sounds similar to what we're trying to do in Buffalo too. So I
Yeah.
would probably be interested to learn how that works in ETAP
And
because
one,
we've got like 10 projects that are going to get funded,
oh yeah,
and we're
yeah,
asking on our
Yeah.
cool.
application window to have students rank their top
Yeah.
three.
So
Yeah. I,
linking to the page.
I think the only caveat I had for this year is we have a one project which is so popular. Many students put up their top choice,
Yeah.
and so when we're matching them, and when they're coming back from mentor, when they select one, so we have the other four students. When we try to match them with their second choice, unfortunately, it already filled. So that's the only, I said, drawback because we lose a few good students. We feel they
Ah,
really
that's
qualified,
interesting.
but unfortunately, they all pumped into this one single project. So
Wow.
that's the only thing. I don't know how to deal with that yet because I really wanted to have those students on board, but unfortunately, by the time when they make a decision, we do not have a really suitable project match for them.
Could you start with the non-popular ones, filling those first? And if you
Well,
don't find students, then you go into well, if it's not their first choice, but it's their second choice or third choice or something.
yeah, usually we give only, we ask them to fill five projects. We only usually you select top three of them because I think by the fourth or fifth, probably they are just filling up the form. So that's what we have been doing.
One,
Yeah.
okay, so that is
And they're
complicated.
also the student that we offered is their first choice. We offer them and then they reject us by the end. So it seems like that happened.
Yeah. that makes sense. Yeah, that's an interesting conundrum. And I just want to remind everybody that you have the power to like decide on how many you show your mentors. You know, if you give them a pile of 300 or even 50, they may pick the people who have the high GPA and the previous experience and yada yada, and they may not be the students that you're looking for. And so people have different approaches. In one program, they don't give the mentor any choice. And I used to run that program and it worked fine, actually. Just like, here's your match. And if the student's not all that excited about the project, you convince them that, hey, it doesn't matter. Like you'll learn a lot about, and you'll have these transferable skills. You learn about how to do a project, and you never know, you might get interested in it and things like that. Um, but if you want to get refunded in another round for the REU, it's important that you do a good job of meeting your goals of, let's say you say, well, I'm going to make half in your proposal, like half of our students are going to be from tribal colleges and universities, and then you end up with 5% or something, then that looks like you don't really, you're not succeeding at that piece, which is really important. In GEO, it's really important from those program officers' perspective that you're actually meeting that specific goal of what populations, whether it's like first generation or community college or whatever the categories that you're seeking. So I encourage you to be selective and use a committee, like get a handful of people and then it's really important to really spend time with them about the goals and the purpose and all of that of the project of the program. And then you can have two sets of eyes on each. One process is like on each application and have yes, no, maybe, and then you discuss the maybes and that kind of thing. Um, but again, I would just like really limit how many the mentors get to see and not leave it all to them because they don't have your interests or the students that you're looking for at heart. I know sometimes people have said, "Oh, well, my mentors object and they want to see them all," and it's like, "Oh, just tell them too bad." That's not how this works. Anybody else have thoughts or comments on that or on any of this? ETAP and
I feel like I just need to get on there and start working with it to know.
so
For
that was
example, our other funding sources, they don't need to be permanent citizens. And so I need to figure out if that is an issue with ETAP. But I can't even know whether to ask that question until I actually go on there and start messing around. In fact, some of our other funding sources in principle, we could have a DACA student, for example.
oh
But
good. William, did they ask in
um,
the ETAP questions, does it say, are you a citizen or permanent resident?
Yes, they have that selection. You can really choose, either you have to be US citizen or non, or you can actually, I think the last choice is though there's no requirement, then basically your application to open to anybody.
Oh,
yeah,
so it's
yeah,
your
I
requirement.
assume it's open.
Oh,
Yeah, I assume it's open. Yeah,
I
Yeah.
see. So did you,
yeah,
when you
because
got,
the ETAP, I'm sorry,
no, go ahead.
ETAP is supposed to be very flexible for people just looking for anybody. And on any given grant, you don't necessarily have to hire somebody who is a permanent citizen, right? I mean, it's a REU requirement, but and so I assume DTAP had that flexibility, if that
Oh,
makes sense.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
like a
that's correct.
yeah, yeah.
So Nguyen, when you downloaded the spreadsheet, how many columns were there of data? Do you know?
I can't remember, but that's a issue. I haven't tried this year. So last year we have the trouble is we cannot download all the 434 together. We can only do page by page, and then we paste together. And
So
the other bug we
434
found that
columns.
No, 434
Oh,
students.
oh, got
But
it.
the
Okay.
column maybe I don't have here right now, but I can email you later. The problem is each page you can show about 15 applications, and you can only download the page by page.
Oh, that's
So that's a pain for us
that's
because I
mhm.
select the download all, and then each time it just crash. But
Oh,
finally, I realized if we do page by page, we're okay. The
that's
other bug we
super.
found last year was they mess up the column because some students fill the middle name, some don't. Then their last name and the first name will be, you know, shifted by a column.
Oh,
So we have to fix that one for it. So that's a good thing we do page by page because then you can easily fix.
I see.
But
So,
I
Sylvia,
hope
these are questions, we should, I'm writing stuff down here, but, and
I
Perrin, maybe you are
I
too.
think yeah, I think our program manager talked to them, so we're hoping they fix this year. So I haven't
Yeah.
checked yet.
And we can talk to them. We can tell them and ask by email or in a meeting, we've asked before, can they do this or that? And for the most part, they've said no, but that one I told you about earlier of whether your program is already in the system, that was fixed. And it sounds like what you mentioned was fixed. So we should ask about the downloading also and about the name shifting issue, as well as
Thanks, Bob.
the requirement filter, I guess, adding. Andy, do you think you would add a question that says something like, which of these kinds of institutions are you in, or program or degrees are you doing?
Well, I mean, we need to know that uh, to filter out, if I get hundreds of undergraduates from standard four-year schools, that's just, wasting my time.
Mhm.
So ideally, at some point, as they improve this system, it would be nice if they could um, prevent, if there was not just a filter, but it, something that if you didn't meet the eligibility
Yeah,
requirements for a particular program, and you check the box no where it has to be yes,
yeah,
you can't advance. I mean,
right. That's a
that seems to me like something
logical.
they could do on their end. We do that currently with we do our applications through Qualtrics. It's a pretty
Right.
simple application, and it allows you to do that.
Yeah,
So you can't go any further.
right. That's why
If
they call it
they could
logic, right? Logic.
Yeah, I mean, if they could institute that, it could save everybody a tremendous amount of work by, avoiding superfluous applicants that are not going to be eligible.
Yeah,
And we all have criteria, it
right.
ought to be something that
Yeah.
just blocks it in the process.
That's a really great idea. So that would be the first section, and they have theirs about, well, maybe it's not, I guess it's not a filter, the citizenship one, but it would be great if you could say, okay, here are I bet they're going to say no. They just want to have all that information and maybe the students applying to other programs and all that. So it may be, I mean, probably most students are applying to multiple programs. And I'm going to guess that what they're going to say is um, because their system seems kind of rigid in a way, or they do, that instead, you get to download it and then sort from the answers that you get of which kind of student, what level they're at, that kind of thing. That's my guess. Um, what were other questions that people didn't get answers to, do you think, from the three program officers during their grilling? Oh, Michael, go ahead.
I just had one question for people who are already using it. So you're getting hundreds of applications in this massive CSV file, probably. Are people currently like managing that in Excel, or are people writing like Python scripts to process it, or how are people handling the dump of 500 applications?
Katrina, we can't hear you if you're talking.
I'm,
There
can
we
you
go.
guys hear me now?
Yeah.
Sorry. I'm not getting 500. I have had mine open the past month and I have one applicant. So people saying they're getting 500,
It's
I'm not seeing
later.
those numbers.
It's too
So
early.
is it too early?
Mhm.
Okay. This is also the first year I've been doing it. I was debating on sharing my screen with my one applicant. This is the first time I've ever ran an REU, um, ran other things, but not an REU. And this is also the first time I'm using ETAP. So I definitely haven't leveraged anything. It's been interesting hearing everybody else talk about the things they need. And, I would now have 10 additional questions, but I don't know if I can share my screen or since we're recording, it's private information.
We can
But
cut it
yeah,
out
that's
if
what I
you,
figured.
we can cut it out.
You would cut it out then?
Yeah.
I'll pull it up then because there was a lot of the questions I think maybe if you can just see in my, big database of one applicant,
Yeah.
you can see what this looks like. And I won't share their name, but you can at least see what it looks like. And I didn't enhance anything. I went like very basic in terms of what it looks like. I can't see the Excel spreadsheet. Hopefully you guys can see my screen.
So Muyen, you talked about screenshots or something, or was it page download? So it wasn't an Excel sheet or
Yeah,
something?
yeah, you can download two ways. You can download spreadsheet with all this demographic information, and so that's one we use to when we group the student in. And but then we also downloaded the PDF file, which has their complete package just like that. And so that's a lot of work. So
Yeah.
Katrina, one thing is it's way too early. So last year, the last day, we get 100 applications.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. So be patient. That's not my strong suit,
yeah,
but I can work on that.
yeah,
And Muyen, it looks like this example is the PDF, right? Of
yeah,
it's an individual.
yes,
Can
yeah,
you
yeah.
suggest how do you choose the CSV/Excel file option or
You have
type?
we rely on both. So
I mean, because
spreadsheet for us to organize students,
okay,
but this one we send it to the reviewers. Each of them, the student complete the PDF file for their application package. And this is also the file we send it to the mentor, say, hi, this is the package for the student. We thought it's a
okay.
good
Well,
match for
that's
your
good.
project.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Katrina, did you see an
Yeah.
option for downloading a spreadsheet?
There might have been one. I guess one thing, since people did have questions, this current enrollment, I didn't change any of that. That's their standard stuff. The only thing I added was these additional questions here, which
Oh,
the other thing is once you click submit, you cannot change these. That's like the big thing I learned. If you guys haven't gone through the ETAP, once you like click submit or make your application visible, there's no going back and modifying questions or adding questions or anything like that. So like just make sure you know what you want
you mean
because I
you
went to
can't or
try
the
and fix it and
student?
they're
Oh, you can't
like
change it.
let's say I had no, let's say I had and I had a list of additional questions that I was going to put on after a lot of these conversations that I couldn't go back in and add those. Once you like publish or submit, there's no going back and adding questions. The
Oh,
only thing you can modify is the deadline.
oh, wow,
So,
that's a good piece of information. Jeez.
and I think they did talk about it in one of the meetings we had online here before, because I was trying to go back and add, and they were like, no.
Oh,
That was
yeah.
kind of the big thing is once you click submit, it's out there, it's visible. There's
Wow.
not really much you can
Well,
modify.
that would be
There's
a nice
small
big
things.
change.
Yeah. I mean, just because if there is another question you want to ask or something.
Yeah.
But